In that same season that South Carolina beat Alabama, Stephen Garcia would lead them to the SEC championship. But unfortunately, with all those great things being said, Mr. Stephen Garcia had a big problem. He couldn't stay out of trouble and he couldn't get out of his own way. What's really sad about all this is Stephen Garcia had all the potential in the world and he was set up for success.
Alabama looks like they're...
October 9th, 2010, 19th ranked South Carolina is hosting number 1 ranked Alabama. This is a very pivotal play in the game. South Carolina is up 7-3 late in the first quarter. It's 4th and 2 in Alabama's 33-yard line, and they decided to go for it. Looks like Alabama completely blew up the play and they're going to get a sack. But lightly, Corso says, not so fast, my friend.
They are. And Garcia breaks the tackle. Oh, my.
Somehow, someway, Mr. Stephen Garcia, he broke out of that and he got a first down. The next play with momentum on their side, Garcia would do a play-action pass, and I'll let him take it from here.
On I formation here, play fake, Garcia back, steps up, goes deep right side.
He threw an absolute dime to Alshon Jeffrey, and that put South Carolina up 14-3. I would show you some more highlights, but that's how the rest of the game went. Stephen Garcia played the game of his life, and South Carolina went on to win 35-21, upsetting Bama. Here's a fun fact for you. Garcia had as many touchdown passes as he did incompletions. As we all know, though, if you wanted to beat a Nick Saban-led Alabama team, your quarterback had to play his A+ game and even some more. In that same season that South Carolina beat Alabama, Stephen Garcia would lead them to the SEC championship. That 2010 season was huge for South Carolina's program history. I want you to listen to some of these wins. In 1 year, they beat Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, and Clemson. But unfortunately, with all those great things being said, Mr. Stephen Garcia had a big problem. He couldn't stay out of trouble and he couldn't get out of his own way. He was a cancer cell in that South Carolina locker room. It got so bad that Steve Spurrier had to suspend him multiple different times. What's really sad about all this is Stephen Garcia had all the potential in the world and he was set up for success. But even with that being said, he still found a way to screw it up, and man oh man did he screw it up big time. There's many questions people have been asked about this guy even till this day. But however, it all circles back to the one. And I mean the one big question we're going to try to get to the bottom of in today's video. What really happened to Stephen Garcia? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hope all of you having a great day. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. And major shout out to every single one of you that has been requesting this video, because this has been the most highly requested video on the channel. On the past couple of videos, I have seen so many comments saying Stephen Garcia, so your wish is my command. Here we are. Y'all know what I'm about to say next. The college football season, it's about to start, and whenever it starts, we're not doing any more documentary videos, so we only got a few more left. I say that to say this: if you have any suggestions for one of these documentary videos, story videos, whatever you want to call them, leave a comment down below, and who knows, we might make that video. Strap in, buckle up, get you a snack, get you a popcorn, get your favorite meal you like to eat when you watch a video, because trust me, I do the same thing. But alright, Matt, blah, 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 shut the crap up. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Coming out of high school, Mr. Stephen Garcia was a prestigious 4-star recruit with an overall scout grade of 97. He was close to getting that 5th star, but he remained a 4-star. A lot of your big-time schools wanted him, so it did come as a slight shock when he decided to commit and sign with South Carolina. South Carolina at the time was not a powerhouse by any stretch of the imagination, so it wasn't every day they got a 4 or 5-star recruit, especially at the quarterback position. You better buckle up, because it doesn't take Garcia's story long to get interesting. As soon as he arrived on a campus as a true freshman, he got suspended not once, but twice. One suspension was due to public intoxication, and the other was for keying his professor's car. That's a first on this channel. I have never heard of a player keying somebody's car. Getting arrested for public intoxication is not a good thing, but he's a young guy, so it's kind of like, alright, whatever. You could brush it aside. But keying his professor's car? That one was like, alright, buddy, what are you doing? What are you thinking? What was really odd about it is in high school, maybe he was a bad guy, but he didn't get in too much trouble, not like this. With all this chaos ensuing off the field, he would decide to redshirt in his first season there. Fast forward time into March of 2008, this is when Garcia and a couple of his teammates were arrested for underage drinking. Listen to this. Garcia wound up pulling the fire alarm, and he got caught, of course, but no charges were ever filed. Ultimately, to make a long story short, he would be suspended from the football team. Here's what Steve Spurrier had to say about it at the time. His fate is out of my hands. We'll put it that way. Steven Garcia's fate is in the hands of the University of South Carolina. He may be out here. He may not be out here. We'll just have to wait and see. We've got the president, the athletic director, the dean. We got a whole bunch of people over there. If they say he'll be here, he'll be here. Of course, you know this is not the end of Garcia's story, which means he got reinstated to the team for his 3rd time already. Say what you want about Garcia, but don't say he didn't get a lot of chances, because he did. It goes back to this. Athletes, they do get special treatment. Let's just call it how it is. Fast forward in time a little bit to that 2008 season, he won SEC Freshman of the Week against Kentucky. This was a game in which he came off of the bench and finished 10 for 14, had a $169 with 1 touchdown to 0 INTs and a QBR of 96.6. South Carolina fan Steve Spurrier and everybody associated with the program, they saw it firsthand why he was so highly regarded coming out of high school. Steven Garcia had talent that you couldn't teach. The remainder of that season wasn't too good and he would split time with the other quarterback, but heading into 2009, this is when it was his job, he was a starter. And he had some really good games in 2009. That was a year in which South Carolina beat number 4th ranked Ole Miss 16-10. They would hit some bumps in the road later in the year, losing to Alabama, Tennessee, Arkansas, Florida, and UConn in a bowl game. But all in all, it wasn't a bad or atrocious year for South Carolina. They finished 7-6. Also, you got to take into account, it was Garcia's first year being the full-time starter. Heading into 2010, I wouldn't say there was heavy expectations, but you could feel it. South Carolina fans, they expected a decent season at worst. It started out okay, beat Georgia, which is great, but then they lost to Auburn 35-27. And I remember like it was yesterday, you immediately thought, well, they're about to lose 2 straight because they got to play number 1 ranked Alabama. Nobody in their right mind was expecting them to win this game, and they went out there and just gave Alabama a good old-fashioned butt whooping. I got to give South Carolina a ton of credit and respect because very rarely do teams actually beat Alabama. Normally when Bama loses or they have lost in the past, what do we say? Oh yeah, well, that other team didn't beat Alabama. Alabama beat themselves. But no, that day, Alabama didn't beat themselves. South Carolina went out there and they took it. Garcia played like a madman. He was possessed. 17 for 20, only had 3 incompletions. Remember that for just a second. 200 passing yards with 3 touchdowns. QBR of 95.9. You know what they say, if you want to beat Bama, your quarterback has to play perfect, and that's close to it. For every incompletion that Garcia threw, he also threw a touchdown. Unreal. After the Bama game, they had the typical letdown after the big-time win. They proceeded to lose to Kentucky. Outside of that, the remainder of the season, it was really solid. Beat Florida, won the SEC East. They mollywopped Clemson 29-7, but they lost to Auburn in the SEC Championship 56-17, which at the time was like, who cares? South Carolina won the SEC East. That was amazing. Anything past that was a cherry on top. They did lose to Florida State in the bowl game, but here's the great news. Garcia would be coming back for another season. Or at least, that's what we thought. In March of 2011, so the offseason, Garcia was suspended for breaking his curfew and also breaking multiple team rules. 1 month later, he was suspended indefinitely for some stuff that unfolded at a meeting. They never released what actually happened that day. All they stated is he was causing some trouble. It got so bad he had to be removed from the meeting and he was suspended indefinitely from the team. Eventually, he would be reinstated. Shocker, right? This is like for the what? 4th or 5th time? But Connor Shaw, the freshman, would start the first half, or actually, my apologies, the first quarter in the opening game. Wait a minute. I said Connor Shaw was a freshman. I believe he was a sophomore. I don't know. I'm second-guessing myself, but it's really besides the point because this is not a Connor Shaw video. This is a Steven Garcia video. And we might need to make a video on Shaw. If y'all like to see that, let me know in the comments section. Anyways, getting back on track here. Garcia still facing some problems off the field, but he did return. And South Carolina got off to a hot start, man. They ran off 4 straight, boom, 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 until they ran into Auburn and lost 16-13. But here's the thing. Although South Carolina started out 4-0 and they only lost to Auburn by 3 points, Garcia was playing awful. In the Auburn game, he went 9 for 23, had a $160 with 1 touchdown, 2 INTs. And to go on top of that, remember, Garcia was already sort of in the doghouse and causing problems off the field. And we know how this goes. If you're behaving wishy-washy off the field and you're just going out there and balling out like Johnny Manziel, many coaches out here, they'll overlook it. But if you're causing problems off the field and you're also not playing good, no, you can't overlook it. And that's what happened. So Steve Spurrier decided to roll with Connor Shaw in the Kentucky game following the Auburn loss. Connor Shaw had a heck of a performance against Kentucky, and Steve Spurrier never looked back. In the midst of that season on October 11th, it was made official that Steven Garcia has been dismissed from the program. This was a long time coming because there was a ton of things that led up to this. But the final nail in the coffin was he failed a substance screening test. And just like that, within the snap of a finger, that was the end to the Steven Garcia experience. Everybody forgot about him relatively quickly because on the field, South Carolina was having a great season. They went on to have one of their best years ever. They finished 11-2. With this being his last and final year, he really didn't have any choice but to enter the NFL draft. Obviously, no NFL team was interested to the slightest. They weren't going to touch this guy with a 10-foot pole, therefore he went undrafted. In 2012, he did sign with the Montreal Alouettes out of the CFL, which is the Canadian Football League, but they released him in 2013. In 2014, he signed with the Tampa Bay Storm out of the Arena Football League. But even in this league, his problems continue to follow him because he got suspended. Nothing ever came out of that. He quit playing football and decided to become a quarterbacks coach. And as where it stands today, he is still a quarterbacks coach and a personal trainer. I do want to ask you guys a question to end off this video. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think Steven Garcia was good enough to play in the NFL? Scratch all the off-the-field problems, throw those out the window. Just based off of how he played at South Carolina, do you think he could have been an NFL quarterback? My answer to that question is no. I don't think he was good enough. His highs were high, don't get me wrong, but his lows were really low. He was super inconsistent. And when you combine that with how he acted off the field, too big of a red flag. I am happy to see he turned his life around, and it looks like everything's going great for him according to his Instagram, so major shout out to you, my man. To Steven Garcia, if you're somehow, someway seeing this video, my brother, wishing you the best of luck, and I hope you continue to see a lot of success in your life moving forward. I'm curious. Let me know your thoughts on all this down below. But Romana.